Ibrahim Traoré, the young and visionary leader of Burkina Faso, is known not just for his bold political moves, but for his calm strength and deep understanding of people. At only 35, he has already earned global respect for leading with empathy and conviction. But leadership isn't always about giving speeches or making decisions behind closed doors. Sometimes it is about the quiet moments, when no cameras are expected and no one is watching. This story takes place in one such moment, inside a small restaurant, where an unexpected encounter revealed the true power of compassion and changed everything. The small corner restaurant was quiet, filled with the gentle hum of soft music and the clinking of forks against plates. It was a regular weekday afternoon. People sat scattered across the room, some alone with their phones, others chatting softly with friends. The scent of warm bread and roasted spices lingered in the air. Ibrahim Traoré stepped inside without any fanfare, dressed in a plain shirt and dark jeans, no security, no assistant, no flashing lights, just him. He scanned the room quietly, chose a table near the window, and sat down. A waiter approached, nodded respectfully, and handed him a menu. Ibrahim returned the nod with a calm smile. He did not want to be noticed, but people noticed anyway. A few eyes shifted. Some recognized him instantly. Whispers began. "Is that him?" one girl murmured to her boyfriend. "Looks like it." But no one said anything out loud. In fact, out of respect, or maybe shock, they gave him space. But not everyone could stay quiet. At the table next to Ibrahim's, a man in his mid-50s was clearly not having a good day. His forehead was creased with anger, his eyes bloodshot, and his hands restless. He had been waiting for his food for a while, and the delay had already set his mood off. His voice started low, grumbling, but soon grew louder. "This is ridiculous," he barked, slamming his palm against the table. "I've been sitting here for 20 minutes. The waiter tried to calm him. "Sir, the kitchen is busy." "I do not care about the kitchen. This is a joke," he snapped. A few people glanced over, then quickly looked away. No one wanted to get involved. But then, suddenly, the man turned his head and stared directly at Ibrahim. "And look at him," he said, pointing, "sitting there doing nothing like he owns the place." The whole restaurant went silent. Ibrahim did not move. He had just taken a sip of water. He put the glass down, glanced at the man briefly, and then looked away as if nothing had been said. His calmness only seemed to irritate the man more. "What are you even doing here?" The man scoffed loudly. "You people walk in like kings and expect everyone to bow, sitting there all quiet, thinking you're better than the rest of us." Now every table had paused, forks mid-air, conversations frozen. The waiter stood frozen too, unsure what to say. He knew who Ibrahim was, so did most of the staff, but no one dared speak. Ibrahim slowly looked up again, eyes meeting the man's for just a second. Still no words, just a quiet stare, unreadable and still. That silence, stronger than any shout, seemed to fill the room. The man shifted uncomfortably but kept going. "Guys like you have everything, and yet you sit there acting like life is so peaceful. Must be nice." Again, no reply. The air was heavy now, like something big was about to happen. But Ibrahim just sat there, hands resting gently on the table, eyes steady. The man, now clearly trying to provoke a reaction, leaned forward slightly. "Not gonna say anything? Figures. All talk when cameras are on, but nothing when you're face to face." A woman nearby stood up, clearly uncomfortable, her child clinging to her dress and whispering, "Why is that man shouting?" Others exchanged nervous glances, unsure whether to speak up or stay out of it. Still, Ibrahim did not move. No anger, no words, just quiet. It felt like everyone in the room was holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. And then Ibrahim slowly stood up, calm, measured. He tucked in the chair behind him and took one gentle step toward the man, who now sat frozen in place, unsure what to expect. The entire restaurant went dead silent. What Ibrahim was about to say or do, no one could predict. And that was the moment everything began to change. As Ibrahim took another step forward, the man leaned back in his chair, suddenly unsure of himself. His face tensed, eyes shifting between confusion and defiance. He expected pushback. He wanted a confrontation. That is what people like him were used to, escalation. He braced for it, but Ibrahim stopped a few feet away and looked at him, not with anger, not with pride, not with judgment, just calm. "You know who I am?" Ibrahim asked, voice low but clear. The man laughed harshly. "Number. And I do not care either." Someone in the back of the restaurant whispered loudly enough to be heard, "That's Ibrahim Traoré, the President of Burkina Faso." A few jaws dropped. A couple of phones quietly appeared, ready to record. The man blinked, once, twice, then scoffed. "President or not, what difference does it make? All politicians are the same. You fly in, smile for cameras, eat in our places, act like you care, but you do not." Now he was shouting again. "You sit here while people like me are falling apart. I have been working all my life, paid taxes, followed rules, and still I am broke, invisible. And you," he waved a hand at Ibrahim, "you walk in and get treated like some quiet saint. It makes me sick." A hush settled. Even the staff froze. One of the waiters, barely in his 20s, took a step forward as if to stop the scene, but a glance from Ibrahim made him pause. Ibrahim turned back to the man. His face showed no offense, only a softness that somehow unsettled the man even more. "I hear you," Ibrahim said slowly, "but I do not think you are angry at me. I think you are angry at life." The man's lips parted, but no words came. Ibrahim pulled out the empty chair across from him and sat down, right at the same table. "I came here today without a team, without media, without power, because I wanted peace. And maybe you came here for the same reason. But pain finds us both, even in quiet places." The man's hands trembled. His breath quickened. He hadn't expected this kind of grace. "You do not know anything about me," the man muttered. "I do not," Ibrahim replied gently, "but I want to." For a moment, time stood still. A leader sitting across from a man who just insulted him. A restaurant full of strangers watching something no one could script. "You are angry," Ibrahim continued, "but underneath that, I think you are hurting. And maybe no one has asked you this for a long time, but I will." He leaned in slightly. "Are you okay?" The question hung in the air. The man's lips tightened. His eyes blinked fast. He looked at the glass of water in front of him, but did not touch it. Then suddenly, his voice cracked. "Number, I am not okay." His shoulders slumped, his voice dropping. "I lost my job 2 months ago. My wife left last week. I have no savings. My daughter's birthday is in 3 days, and I have nothing to give her. I am not okay." His voice broke, "And I am tired of pretending I am." The room changed in an instant. This was no longer about politics, or fame, or race, or roles. This was about pain, real, raw pain, and a man finally letting it out, not because someone shouted back, but because someone listened. Ibrahim nodded, not interrupting, not advising, just there, present. And that was the beginning of something no one in the restaurant would ever forget. The man covered his face with his hands, as if hiding from the world. His voice, now quiet and shaky, echoed beneath his palms. "I didn't even know who you were. I just needed to let it out. I was angry, at everything." Ibrahim sat still, no judgment in his eyes. "You were not wrong to feel what you feel," he said softly. "But pain, when carried alone, can turn into poison. You do not need to carry it like that." The man slowly lowered his hands. His eyes were red, his cheeks wet. "Why are you being kind to me? After all that I said, why?" Ibrahim gave a small smile. "Because I have felt anger too. I have seen men break under pressure, and I have learned that shouting back only adds more noise. But listening, really listening, can quiet storms." The man stared at him for a moment, like he was seeing a version of the world he had forgotten existed. And then something unexpected happened. He laughed, not happily, just tired and hollow, but it was real. "You know," he said, wiping his face, "I thought if I just shouted at someone powerful enough, maybe someone would finally hear me. I didn't even know I was screaming for help." Ibrahim nodded. And now that you have spoken, what do you need? The man looked around, suddenly aware that the whole room had been silent, listening. Every pair of eyes was on him, not with disgust, but something else. Empathy, respect, even shame, perhaps, for having judged too quickly. He swallowed hard. I need a restart, he whispered. I need someone to believe I can still get back up. Ibrahim leaned back slightly. You are already doing that now. And then he waved toward the waiter, who was still standing near the counter, unsure whether to approach. Bring him whatever he wants, Ibrahim said, and bring me the same. The waiter nodded and rushed to the kitchen. Now people around the restaurant began to react. One woman pressed a hand to her chest, her eyes glistening. An older man near the window gave a slow, respectful nod. A teenage girl whispered to her mother, "Is this really happening?" The air was different, lighter, as if someone had quietly opened a window and let in something pure. The man across from Ibrahim took a deep breath. I do not know what to say. You have already said enough, Ibrahim replied. Now eat and rest. The man shook his head, overwhelmed. I attacked you, publicly. You sat down and gave me dignity instead. That's not what leaders do. Ibrahim's eyes met his. That is exactly what they should do. One young man from a corner table raised his phone. He had been recording since the argument began, not to shame, but to remember. Others followed. A moment that started with hate had turned into something people knew the world needed to see. A reminder that sometimes strength is not in power, but in patience, not in control, but in compassion, and not in having the last word, but in offering the first hand. The food arrived quietly, 2 plates, steaming, simple. The waiter placed them gently on the table, his eyes darting between the 2 men, still unsure if what he was witnessing was real. Ibrahim thanked him with a nod, then turned to the man across from him. Eat, he said kindly, 1 step at a time. The man hesitated, then picked up his fork. His hands were still shaking slightly, but he took a bite. He swallowed slowly, as if reminding his body how to exist without fear. The restaurant was still unusually quiet. A woman at a nearby table finally broke the silence. That was the most human thing I have seen in years. Another person whispered, he could have embarrassed that man. Throw him out. But he sat with him instead. A ripple of quiet voices began moving through the room. Not noise, not gossip, just raw emotion. Soft conversations about empathy, about pain, about how everyone in the room had probably carried something heavy at some point. One young man stood up slowly, walked over to Ibrahim and the other man, and placed a $20 bill on the table. I do not know your story, he said gently, looking at the man who had yelled earlier. But I know what it is like to feel forgotten. You are not alone. The man stared at the money, then at the stranger, then at Ibrahim. His voice cracked. I do not deserve this. Ibrahim replied, It is not about what you deserve. It is about what you need. Then more followed. Another customer paid for the man's meal, already covered by Ibrahim, but did it anyway, just to show solidarity. A woman offered a business card. We are hiring at my company. Nothing fancy, but honest work if you want a chance. The man stared at it as if it were glowing. By now, nearly half the restaurant was recording or sharing what they were witnessing. No one was laughing. Only quiet awe remained. The man finally spoke again, voice steadier now. You reminded me today what I forgot, that not every powerful man is out to prove something. Some are just trying to heal things. Ibrahim stood up, not proud, not superior, just grounded. He extended his hand. The man stood slowly and took it. Their handshake was firm, but not forced. When they let go, Ibrahim gently patted his shoulder. Whatever you do next, do it with heart. People began clapping, not loudly, but the kind of applause that builds naturally when something honest happens. It was not for show, it was for healing. Some wiped their eyes, some stood in respect. Others simply smiled, feeling something shift inside them. The man who entered boiling with rage walked out in quiet gratitude, a job lead in his pocket, and the memory of a moment that changed him. And the photo, snapped by someone near the kitchen, would later be printed, framed, and hung near the door by the restaurant owner. Two men at a table, one leader, one broken soul, a meal, a moment. Beneath it, a small plaque would read, "Kindness is louder than hate." By the next morning, the video had exploded online. It had been posted by at least 3 different customers who were in the restaurant that day. None of them were influencers. None had expected it to go viral. But within hours, the clip had spread like wildfire, first across local pages, then onto major platforms. One version on TikTok hit 10 million views in a single night. Another on X, formerly Twitter, had a caption that read, "A man yelled at a leader. The leader sat down and asked if he was okay. What happened next restored something in me." News outlets began to pick it up. Headlines ranged from "Calm Power, Traoré teaches a masterclass in leadership," to "The restaurant moment that silenced the internet." Debates sparked in comment sections. People argued, but not about the usual noise. This time, they were asking bigger questions. What if more leaders responded like this? Would I have had the courage to sit and listen like he did? That angry man could have been any of us, on a bad day, lost, tired, hurting. Some tried to politicize it. Others dismissed it as a staged act. But none of that stuck, because the video was too raw, too real, too quiet to be fake. It was not polished. It had no dramatic music, no speech, just 2 men at a table, one talking, the other listening. Soon, celebrities began to comment, activists, psychologists, even rival political figures who rarely agreed on anything shared it, each adding their own interpretation. And then came the ripple effect. A small nonprofit in Ohio posted, "Inspired by Traoré's calm strength, we're launching a community meal program called Sit and Listen." In Los Angeles, a retired school principal posted a video offering jobs to 3 people who had publicly shared their struggles online. In Detroit, a teenager who had watched the clip said in her caption, "I was planning to end everything this week. Then I saw this. Maybe I just need someone to sit down and ask if I'm okay." Barron Trump, known for staying out of public drama, quietly liked one of the posts. That alone stirred 1,000 conversations. And the man from the restaurant? He stayed quiet at first. Then, 5 days later, he wrote a short post on Facebook. "I was the man who yelled. I am not proud of it, but I am proud of what happened after. I want people to know. Kindness saved me. I am working again. I am rebuilding. And I am grateful to the man who reminded me that falling does not mean you are finished." He did not need to say more. The world had already moved from judgment to reflection. And Ibrahim Traoré, he never gave a speech about it, never claimed credit. When asked by a reporter days later if he planned the moment, he simply replied, "We do not need more men shouting to prove they are strong. We need to be more willing to sit and be quiet, to prove they are human." That quote would be etched in metal and placed beneath the photo in the restaurant, now visited daily by strangers, just wanting to stand and feel the energy of where it happened. A simple table, 2 chairs, and a moment that reminded the world that real power does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers. If this story touched your heart, made you reflect, or reminded you of the kind of world we all want to live in, where kindness speaks louder than hate, then do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. Drop a comment below about your favorite moment, or tell us how you would have responded if you were in that room. And remember, sometimes the smallest actions leave the biggest mark. Stay tuned for more real, emotional, and thought-provoking stories.